Hello, all my fellow math magicians out there. All right, so we are on Thursday today, which is lesson 4. So if you haven't done so already, hit the quick pause, grab your pad of paper, grab your pencil, your pen, whatever you're going to do, and let's get ready. Let's get ready to rumble. All right, so we're going to do a quick recap. We're going to get our setup for the lesson, and then we're going to watch solution to number 1. Wrap things up, and then I'm going to let you guys go and grow your math brains. So today is Thursday, April 4th. Happy Friday Eve, everybody. We're almost there. It's our lesson 4 on assessments. And so let's take a look back at what we've done this week. So this week we have translated systems of equations. We have brushed up on what makes an equation linear. Make sure you look at that feedback because I want to make sure we're crystal clear in our explanations. Why would an equation be linear? How does that affect our rate of change? And then we determined if something was a solution. And then we also took a look at an equation with infinite solutions and brushed up on that and what we remember from class. But then today, what are we going to do? We're going to be actually solving the equations. And specifically, these equations have rational coefficients or rational numbers within the equation. And so that's a standard that you guys worked on this year in 8th grade, is solving equations when there's fractions involved. And multiple steps into simplifying the equation before we can get right into isolating. You guys have been, Stanley's here. You guys have been working really hard on your equations and solving equations this year. So I know today is going to be super great, super easy breezy, and we're going to kill it. Before we look at solution to number 1, I want to touch on our criteria for success, get you guys set up for the day. So our criteria for success today is, first we're going to simplify equations using algebra properties. So before we start subtracting on this side and on this side, we want to make sure everything is simplified as far as we can go before we start rearranging across the equal sign. And you guys know exactly how to do this, so you're going to be fine. The next thing is to use inverse operation. So whatever we do to one side, we do to the other, and we're using these inverse operations so we can isolate our variable and figure out what the solution is to the equation. Then, you know what we're going to do. After we get a solution for x, we're going to substitute back into our equation and check if our answer is correct. Before we hit submit, make sure you don't get it marked wrong when you can check your answer before the computer does. And I will know if you don't check. Like, seriously, I'm going to know if you don't check. And then, last but not least, you're going to identify, it's going to be a separate question from solving, and you guys can see it over here. It's going to ask you to show your work. And that's kind of crazy to show your math work on a computer, but I'll get you set up. You guys are going to be great. So let's take a look over here, and let's look at the solution to number 1. So this question, it just simply says, solve the linear equation x plus 4 plus 3x equals 72. And so we are going to, you know me, I like to rewrite it so it's nice and big. And then you'll see me use some strategies that we've been using all year long. And for those of you who have been with me for a couple of years, we've been using it for years, where we draw the line down the middle. Let's circle our like terms, combine our like terms. So 3x plus x gives us 4x. I bring down anything I didn't touch. I bring down the plus 4, and then I bring down the 72 because we haven't addressed the 72 yet. Now, I also like to use the strategy where I outline the x so I can figure out what do I need to isolate, what's still bothering it. So after I do that, you realize, oh, we have a plus 4, we have to minus 4 on both sides. And then we get 4x left on the left, equaling to 68 on the right. Once again, let's circle that x or highlight that x. What's still attached? Oh, we're multiplying by 4, so we're going to use inverse operations again, divide by 4 on both sides, and we get x to equal 17. And so, to recap all of this work, I first simplified on the left before I started solving. So what we did here is we used the associative property where we are regrouping things without changing the value. So x plus 3x is the same as 4x. And then we brought down the constant because it's the same as up here. We didn't alter it. We didn't change it. And then we copied down the equals and the 72. And then we got right into the inverse operations. So when we go to part B and it asks us, or when it asks us to, actually, my bad, not in this question is it going to ask about the algebra property, but you'll see in the questions after this question how it asks you to refer to the algebra property. So I'll give you a quick review on what those algebra properties could be. And then, like I said, I'm going to show you how are you going to type your work up. How are you going to show your work? So let's get back over to our handy dandy PowerPoint. So if you haven't done so already, maybe you're going to hit a quick pause and you're going to jot down this CFS so you know exactly what we're looking for when we're grading your work. And if you hit pause, welcome back. Let's take a quick review of our algebra properties, things you guys have been working with over the years. And let's just put a name to it if you don't recall the specific vocab terms. So commutative property we've worked with a bunch, especially with our exponent properties, but commutative property is when terms can be rearranged and the expression doesn't change the value. So 2 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 2. And you can do this with multiplication, you can also do this with addition. Associative property. So associative property, this is where terms can be grouped differently without the expression altering its value. So if you look over here, we grouped our x plus 3x and gave us 4x. So we regrouped them without changing the value. We kept everything the same. And then another property that we use a bunch when we're solving equations is that inverse property. And there's a bunch of little properties underneath this umbrella term of an inverse property. But inverse property is, an example of an inverse property is when we subtract 4. And we subtract 4 because that brings us to 0. But then we also know when we're solving equations, we do it on both sides. And we choose to subtract 4 because we're trying to isolate the x. So we use inverse properties so we can isolate the x and get the solution for x. And then another property that we've used a bunch is distributive property. So distributive property is when there's a value multiplying by a sum or a difference, and we draw those arrows and make sure we multiply the outside number to the numbers that are inside the parentheses. You guys are pros at that, so you'll be fine. Now here's the tough part, is how do we show our work? How do we show our math work on a computer? And I'm going to show you. I just typed it up. A lot of you actually have been doing a really cool job of showing me your math work already. So for those of you who have already done it, keep on chugging along. For those of you who haven't really done this yet, it was really simple. I just typed the sentence, hit enter. Typed the sentence again, how I changed it, hit enter. And then I kind of like played around with the spacing and I pressed space a bunch of times to get the -4 underneath the 4. And then this -4 to be on the right-hand side of the equal sign. No big deal if it's not perfect. Just try to make it look like what your work looks like on paper. And it's the same thing. I'm working vertically. I'm showing each step on every line, as you can see. Isolating the variable using our inverse properties, our inverse operations. Oh, hey, look at this. And then I even was able to show my check, which if you don't remember, it is a part of your CFS. So when I got the solution of x equals 17, I substituted it back into the original equation and I simplified everything on the left-hand side. And once I got it to match the right-hand side, I knew that I had the right answer. Smiley face. Or another option to show your work could be in a table. I don't know if the program lets you do a table, but if it does, that'd be kind of cool. It organizes it nicely. Or maybe if you like, I wonder if you do it in a Word document, who knows? Play around with it, let me know. If the table doesn't work, obviously just type it up like this and include your check. I definitely want to see that check because we are pushing to make sure that we have the best math habits around town. So that's it for today. I think you guys are going to kill it. I can't wait to see all your work, all your solving equations, all your parts of this CFS. you are more than welcome to go back into this video, pause it, take notes, copy down some of the algebra properties. I'd highly recommend it. It'd be helpful for when you get to those part B's or part C's when they're asking for the property. You guys are going to have a great day. I can't wait to see your work and grow that math brain. Bye, guys.